Hello, good morning. My name is Luis Peñín from Scenario Espacial. Thank you for joining. For me, it's really a pleasure to be here in this small satellite conference because proba 3 it's a vivid demonstration of how small satellites can be used to build new mission concepts and to do top-level science. proba 3 is ESA next mission to serve the Sun after the Solar Orbiter mission. But the particularity is that we have two spacecraft that are being used as one single instrument, one single virtual instrument to observe the Sun. Our corona has never been done before, and this is done through the use of formation flying technology, as we will see in the next slides. Let's go back to the origin. The observation of the Sun corona has been there for more than 40 years. But the way this is being done has limitations to be able to reach closer to the Sun, observing the inner corona below 2.5 Sun radius. Because on one side there are ground-based coronagraphy systems, for example, natural eclipse, but they are rare and they are limited in time, but also ground-based coronagraphs that occult internally the Sun on the instrument are degraded by all the effects of the Earth's atmosphere. There are also space-borne coronagraphs, but they have an internal disk inside the instrument. There are also effects of diffraction of a straight on the disk that doesn't allow to go very close to the inner corona of the Sun. And there, of course, if you don't occult the Sun, there's not enough contrast to be able to observe the Sun corona with all the effect of the sunlight. So in the end, what we will need to study the inner corona of the Sun is a new concept, is to be able to combine a natural solar eclipse that is being done in orbit. So we will reduce or mitigate the Earth atmosphere effect, the diffraction of straight light, and also minimize diffraction of internally occult spacecraft. So the concept is to create an artificial eclipse in orbit. And this is proba 3. We have two spacecraft. One is having the coronagraph instrument, and the other spacecraft placed apart at a distance with occulting disk covering the Sun. And this will allow us to study the inner part of the corona, which is on the area of 1.1 Sun radius. And you can see a picture of how this is done. One spacecraft is occulting the Sun from the other spacecraft. Okay, so this is a concept. We need to keep a virtual rigid instrument. How do we do this? You can see here that one spacecraft, the occulting spacecraft, will be at a distance from the other spacecraft. In this case, it's around 144 meters, which is based on the geometry to cover with an occulting disk the Sun. But we need to keep this as a single tight instrument, so we need to control the distance tightly on the other 50 millimeters accuracy, but we also need to control the lateral displacement on the order of 5 millimeters. But even more, we need to control the complete formation as a single instrument looking to the Sun with an accuracy of 7.1 arc seconds. So we need to do this very precise, autonomously, in order to have a virtual spacecraft, virtual instrument to observe the Sun corona. Okay, so how are we able to keep such a tight formation? So on one side we have the metrology. The metrology it's how we sense the distance between the two spacecraft and the lateral displacement. We have the fine metrology. FLS is a laser-based sensor with a reflector on the other spacecraft that allows to measure both lateral and longitudinal distances. And then we also have the coarse metrology system, which is a vision-based system using a wide angle and a narrow angle camera that make use of a cooperative light pattern on the other spacecraft to also estimate the relative distance and the displacement. But metrology sensing without intelligence, it's useless, so we need to coordinate both spacecraft. We have an intersatellite link that communicates both the spacecraft, omnidirectional, and this communication allows us to do formation flying coordination, which is an onboard logic that is placed on both the spacecraft and is completely autonomous, that allows us to, based on this communication exchange of information, to keep the formation with the right and precise accuracy. Well, the spacecraft are two. On the first side, we have the chorograph spacecraft, which is holding the chorograph instrument here. This instrument is on an optical bench. The chorograph spacecraft has a range of 300 kilos and 300 watts. It has a solar array deployable, looking always to the sun, and it's controlling altitude by reaction wheels, and also includes monopropellant thrusters to be able to do some maneuvers that we will see later on. Also on the face looking to the sun and to the other spacecraft, we have the corner curvature reflector for the sensor, and we have antennas for the inter-satellite link, the communication, also antennas for GPS, as we will see later on, and communication with ground. And on the other side, we have the occulter spacecraft, which is the one occulting the sun through this occulting disk. It also has a solar array fixed looking to the sun, always during the formation maneuvers. It is also controlled with reaction wheels, and includes millimeter column thrusters for precise formation flying. It's on the 250 kilograms and 180 watts range. And on the side, looking to the other spacecraft, has the fine lateral sensor on an optical bench, also the cameras and the different antennas for the communications, the ISL, the satellite link, GPS, and the S-band with ground. And these two spacecrafts, they will have this phase, always looking to this phase to do the communication and the different metrology sensing between the two spacecraft, always looking to the sun with the solar arrays looking to the sun. Well, these two spacecraft are launched in a high elliptical orbit with a 60,000 by 600 kilometers perigee, 59 degrees inclination that was selected, among other things, to minimize the effect of radiation. This orbit was selected as a compromise or as a balance or a combination of having a direct injection on the perigee and having a quiet environment on the apogee to be able to do precise formation flying without consuming fuel. It's a 2 years mission with the aim of having more than 1,000 hours of chronography. It is fully autonomous, so it allows you to perform this observation fully autonomous during a 2 years mission lifetime. The spacecraft are launched in a stack together in a single launch, and they are separated, commissioning and separated. Then they have communication with ground, with a ground dedicated antenna, 15 meters diameter antenna on Santa Maria Island in Azores. We have a mission operations center in review, and then we have a science operations center. Well, the particularities of this orbit is that we can only do science on in the apogee part. This is a 20 hours long orbit. We will have around 6 hours of science operations on the apogee, because we will need to break the formation before going to the perigee, in order to avoid wasting fuel in keeping the formation, which will be very difficult because of the tight, the high dynamic perturbations in the perigee. So the formation is broken. There's a maneuver that allows to pass through the perigee safely without collision and being able to reunite the spacecraft after going through the perigee. So once the maneuver is done, the spacecraft go naturally through the perigee without keeping formation. Once they go below the GPS constellation, they are able to do relative GPS measurements to be able to understand the relative state between the two spacecraft, to later on be able to point one spacecraft to each other to acquire again the formation, making use of the coarse metrology, the cameras, that allows us in 2 steps, a wide angle and narrow angle camera, to acquire again the formation and being able to lock the fine metrology, the laser, to do again the science phase of the mission. But proba 3 is not only doing science. Proba 3 is also aimed to do formation flying technology demonstration for future science applications, because there's a roadmap of future science missions in which formation flying technology to do this large instrument is really beneficial. So proba 3 will demonstrate also precising maneuvers, how to be able to resize, to, for example, mimic the change in the baseline of a telescope in space. Also, we will demonstrate how to do retargeting in a tight formation, precise formation, how to look with this virtual instrument to a different star, a different inertial target. Also, the combination of resizing and retargeting when it's needed. And also, very importantly, to demonstrate the capability to do collision avoidance. Naturally, in the mission, we have this collision avoidance embedded to avoid collision between the two spacecraft in continuous situation. But we will also demonstrate this capability with doing the dedicated collision avoidance, collision risk assessment, and collision avoidance maneuver. Well, proba 3 is a very demanding technological mission. We need a very compact and dedicated and very well-knowledgeable team. CENER is leading a core team of five companies, well known in space with very good expertise. We have Kinetic Space doing the avionics, the functional verification and the operations. We have Airbus Spain for the platform. We have GMV for the formation flying system and Spacebird for the onboard software and the ground segment. ESA is taking care of providing the payload, CFIs, and also the interface with the contractor. And proba 3 is part of the IOD program of Tech Directorate of ESA, which has done other program missions in the past very successfully. And also very important, that proba 3 is also supported by ESA Science Program as Opportunity Mission to complement the science of other missions with what proba 3 will provide, which will be unique measurements of the inner part of the sun corona. And finally, just some, I think, important message as a summary. I mean, proba 3 is able to achieve new science goals, not being able to be done with single spacecraft, making use of two small spacecraft. It will allow to perform science, the sun corona observation as has never been done before. And it's important to highlight that it will be most probably, for what we know, the first precise formation flying space mission in the world. There were other formation flying missions in the past, but this will be the first which will be precise on the millimeter and arc second accuracy. We are not on paper, we are already in full speed. I mean, we are all manufacturing the different instruments, the optical benches, the spacecraft. So now we are in the middle of phase D with expected launch in 2 years' time. So proba 3 will be a reality, and we'll be able to provide the new science output with these two small satellites in a very tight programmatic context in the near future. It's not a concept, it will be a reality very soon. This, I think, it's very important to highlight. Okay, just to finalize, thank you for your presence. Thank you all also to all the team of proba 3 through all the industrial setup, not only now the current, but through the years. It has been a long journey up to here. There have many people, many organizations from ESA, from the industry, that has helped in the past to reach this reality. And okay, thank you to everybody. I think this is a really good opportunity to demonstrate how small satellites can build new mission concepts and provide top-level science, not being able to be done otherwise. Thank you very much. Thank you to everybody. Thank you for all that has supported proba 3 during all this year. Thank you very much.